So if somebody comes to the movement and...
Comes to the movement, comes to the Pero Murshid and says, can you tell me something? Why should I come here? Are you doing some funny business? Or are you...
If that person comes to me,
yeah,
well, I will say, well, why do you come? You're bound.
Yeah, because he wants to know something about spirituality.
Well, then I would say, well, why do you think that we know any better than you? Or than anybody else? Or than any other organization?
Okay. But that is not... Is that an answer to his question? Or her question?
Well, if the question is put in that way, yes.
Okay, so how shall we put the question then? Can you tell something?
Well, if a person comes just to know what can be found in Sufism,
Okay.
I would say, well, you will find whatever you're looking for.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm waiting for your questions, Ulman.
Okay, but I'm looking for enlightenment.
Enlightenment will turn the light on.
Okay, but that's not enough. The light is on. And the sun is shining.
Well, one of the very perhaps special teachings in Sufism is that by the very fact that one is born, one has the light within. So it doesn't really make sense to look for it because it is there. If one thinks that one will find it somewhere else, one will never find it. And that's the reason why most people who are discouraged in whatever spiritual organization they are following, they are discouraged because they are looking for something that they have already. It's not in that organization, it's in their own heart that they are looking for. Is that enough?
No, that's not enough, but it is an answer. But if one is not seeing that light, how does one come to see the light which is within?
The light is not like electric light. That means a produced light, a created light. The light is, our whole self is nothing else than the light itself. And we know that the eye cannot see itself. It sees everything else except itself, unless you look in the mirror. But the eye is the only thing that cannot see itself, can see everything else except itself. That's exactly the same thing. We cannot see the light within us because we are nothing else than that light itself. Covered over by the ego, by the dogmas, by the preconceived ideas, by all the theories that one learns and picks up and makes oneself from morning till night. Does that answer that question?
So it is a question of taking away all the covers.
That's exactly what it's all about, yes.
How do you do that?
Well, I think that one of the very precious teachings of Hazrat Nat Khan on that subject is the book called Art of Personality, which teaches how to get rid of those covers which are made out of the ego. I am, I know better, I want, and all the false identifications that one makes about one's own self, to oneself. And what is worse than even that is those false identifications which one tries to impress others with, which in English is called self-pretense.
Do you mean by that I jumped now? But do you mean by it that one should not say things which one did not experience or did not feel or doesn't know?
Well, perhaps one of the, I would say, authenticities which is looked for in the Sufi movement, I don't always say is found, but is looked for, is exactly that. Not to not to ever say anything that wasn't done, that one doesn't believe in, or that one has not experienced oneself.
Now,
because as soon as you say something that you have not experienced, or that you do not believe in, or that somebody else has imposed upon you to believe, that is where you give birth to what is called preconceived ideas or dogmas.
and actually it's parrot speech.
Is what?
Parrot speech. Papegaai.
Oh, parrot speech, yeah.
How do you know the difference between people who really have experienced things and who are not fantasizing, and people who just make up things?
Look, it's very simple. If in the internet they offer you something for free,
Yeah.
you know it's a bluff. And if they offer you for money, you know it's a bluff anyway. Because that money will just be a down payment, there will be more bills coming up afterwards. There is an organization, I don't know what it's called, which sometimes gives a message through on the internet saying, for God's sake, stop all this research on the internet. It's all bluffers and gangsters and even dangerous experiments. How many girls have been looking for a man and they ended by having lost their life because of it, or their money? It's really criminal. What goes on in the internet is criminal.
Okay, I understand what you're saying and I agree totally.
But that is the same thing within all esoteric organizations. As soon as we say Sufis, we shall offer you spiritual development at free, you don't have to pay anything, it's bluff.
So what do we offer?
Well, in the Sufi movement there's a membership which is about 60 euros a year. That's for the upkeep of the movement, that's all.
Yeah, but what do we offer?
What do we offer?
Yes.
What we offer is to help the member to discover that whatever you're looking for is already there, so you don't have to look for it outside. And you don't even have to look for it in our movement. Look at it inside in yourself. Happiness, for instance. You can run over the whole world and you'll never find happiness. Happiness is oneself. Happiness is a condition, is a state of mind. It's the harmonious condition of the heart. Nobody can make anybody happy, but we can make others happy. That's the whole point. That is what's so very special in the Sufi teachings. The only way to make any progress on the spiritual path is to try whatever you say, whatever you do, whatever you think, for that to be an opportunity of offering a little bit of happiness to others. That's all, nothing else. Mere need. Life is happiness. What is spirituality? Spirituality is only happiness, is all it is. It doesn't mean that you're any more, any higher than anybody else. It doesn't mean that you're nearer to God. But that's all kinder fairy tales.
Can you tell something about the idea of spiritual liberty?
What Hazrat Khan meant by spiritual liberty was that anything that is really true should never be imposed upon anyone. Spiritual liberty doesn't mean that one is just free to do anything one wants. Spiritual means not to accept to be imposed by anyone to believe what they force you to believe. That's all it means. You believe what your heart is ready to accept. But on the spiritual path, whatever it is, spiritual liberty means that the teacher should not impose anything on the pupil. And the pupil should not either expect or tempt the teacher to impose something on the path.
I understand.
But spiritual liberty means also, par contre, to become more conscious of one's responsibilities. Because the freer you are, that is where your sense of responsibility is challenged.
Can you explain that a little bit further?
Well, you see, if one is completely under the boots of a teacher, one just leaves all one's responsibilities to the teacher to guide one as one wishes to be guided, which in fact is, one calls that in Dutch slaphals. Spiritual, the freer one is, as far as not accepting to be imposed any dogmas or any illogical theories, the more one is conscious of one's responsibilities. First of all, as far as one's connection is with others, and as far as what one has to offer to others, which is a great responsibility. For instance, to avoid causing troubles to others, and to avoid getting in trouble oneself, uselessly. Because if one allows oneself to get in troubles, one is thereby helping the other to develop that into an ego trip on their side. Don't know if you understand what I'm saying.